Hello everyone and thank you for being here. We are MBS Academy. Our mission is to bring digital technology close to all professionals. We teach business professionals how to use digital technologies and manage digital risks to be familiar and comfortable with them. Some of our programs include Foundations of Digital Transformation, Artificial Intelligence, Auditing Digital Risk, Big Data Analytics, to name a few. I'm Tony and I'll be your co-host for today. There are a few members of our team with us. Jessa.
Hello everyone, I am Jessa. I am from Manila, Philippines, and I'm the producer of the online sessions.
Matene.
Hi everyone, I'm Mabini from Malaysia and I'm going to be in charge of your polls today.
Thank you, Ivan.
Hey everyone, my name is Ivan, I'm from the Netherlands and I will have a really nice discussion with you guys.
And Mario.
Hi everyone, I'm Mario, one of the trainers at MBS Academy. I teach digital technology and digital risks, so talk to me about these topics after the session or during the session.
Thank you. In this session, we'll be talking about managing and motivating teams. Our speaker for today is Mr. Shome Mukherjee. He's a result-oriented professional with the proven success of over 22 years in T&D retail collection and sales, strategy and communication management, recovery and credit management, audit, compliance, and business process improvement, customer experience, relationship management in the banking and financial service sectors in India and overseas. And before to start, I would like to remind you that your videos are on, so keep in mind that we can see you. Mr. Shom, please take it forward.
Yeah, thanks, Antonia. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, MBS Academy, for this lovely opportunity and platform to deliver this particular session. So, good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, all of you from wherever you are. And I hope all of you are doing well, because these are hard times, challenging times, and we are right now going through a phase which is very, very difficult phase, as we call it. And the difficulty is more in the mind when we talk about motivation, because motivation starts with self. And today we'll start the session with a poll. So I want to first introduce you to the. So we are going to talk about managing and motivating teams. So I'm sure the audience here are from different sectors, and you have your teams as well as you're running your own business from your area of work. We'll go to a poll and to see how you rate your teams.
Hello everyone, we're going to have a small poll. You should see a poll pop up on your screen. If you do not see it, please let us know. All right, thank you for participating in the poll. I shall share the results to your screen now. Back to you, Mr. Shom.
Yeah, thanks, thanks, Mathini. So 67% says yes, that your teams are self-motivated, and I'm more interested to know the 17% who said not sure. Okay, so let's see how we can take this forward. And all of you can see the quote on the screen. We have been using different forms of motivation over a period of time, and as it says by this great person, Homer Rice, you can motivate by fear, you can motivate by reward, but both those methods are only temporary. And I think we are going through that kind of a phase right now, where the only lasting thing is self-motivation. So for those of you who answered, your team is self-motivated. That's good news, because these are the times when motivation plays a big factor when you're working from home, because as you know that working from home is a challenge. In a lot of my other sessions, when I do these kind of sessions with other companies, whether in India or outside India, the main thing which comes up is people tend to say that they are working more hours when they are working from home. I don't know how many of you agree. You can put it up on the chat box if you feel like. Let's move on and see what is motivation. Yes, so that's the dictionary meaning of motivation: internal and external factors that stimulate desire and energy in people to be continually interested and committed to a job, role, or subject, or to make an effort to attain a goal. Yes, so we are going to talk a lot about that red letter word, which is goal. And that's exactly what is right now a little uncertain for most of us in different industries. And for those of you who are attending MBS sessions every week, you will know that Mario has been discussing a lot about working from home and the digital challenges, and so all those of course relate to a particular goal. What are we trying to achieve? So how do we first of all analyze that whether we as leaders or managers or business owners are motivated or not? So understanding is very important here. How do we understand ourselves and that impact on our team motivation? So if you see the circle here, it has the self in between, and different parameters across, which starts with valuing self, learning, perseverance, sensitivity, authority, and result oriented. So we're going to take one by one. I hope all of you can listen to me. I'm audible? And we'll start with what do we mean by valuing self? So I want to ask some of you, and obviously you can type on the chat box, or you can, kind of end of the session, you can put up your questions. We have an FAQ part. So how much do you value self when it comes to managing yourself? In terms of how do you look at yourself in these times? In these times, are you thinking up too much about the future, or are you doing what is the work at hand? So how are you valuing self? So let's see what valuing self is all about. It's all about recognizing your own abilities, achievements, ambition, and not destabilized by feedback. So when we talk about feedback, yes, these are the times when you get a lot of feedback from a lot of people of asking you to do certain thing in a certain way. But traditionally or with experience, we come to know that as managers or as leaders, as business owners, we have gone through a lot of changes over a period of time. And it is that self-assurance that brings us back to the track. We can't live in our comfort zones. For example, 3 months back or 4 months back, say January 2020, when we started, 2020 is supposed to be the first year of this new decade. And we have all been so happy to enter a new decade with new technology, with new developments, and suddenly something uncertain hits us. So how do we recognize our own ability during those times? Are our self-esteem going down? Is our self-motivation going down? So it's very important to do a self-assessment and ask those questions to self, whether we are ourselves self-motivated. So first of all, valuing self. At no point of time we should go back and be critic to ourselves. We should not be criticizing ourselves. We should be a little relaxed when it comes to talking about our mistakes also. So destabilizing by feedback is something which can happen, but we need to get back to normal when it comes to with the changing times and managing our own teams. So next is learning. So I want to again put much focus on this point, because learning is something which is very, very important, and you know how learning helps us during changing times. So for each one of us, for every head of state right now all across the world, it is a learning process to how to deal with the current situation. So similar thing happens with our own companies in our own area of work. We need to merge our past experiences along with some new learnings to kind of support a structure which is right now in place. And obviously, feedback is once again very important, a constant feedback process, a discipline. Why I said discipline is because in every learning process, there is a discipline which is inbuilt. For some of you who are going through many of the courses, maybe online to upgrade yourselves. So there's some chat box. I'm being using different methods like staying in touch with my team, organizing physical fitness sessions. Yes, exactly, Mohit. That's the great thing to do, keeping in touch with your team and engaging yourself with your team, because these are the times when the emotional bonding, yes, other methods, of course, to ensure teams are motivated. The emotional bonding is very important because we know that human beings are, we are all emotionally bonded. You know, when we say socially bonded, there is obviously a social network out there when we are connecting to everyone, but more than social, that emotional presence is required. So for every boss, for those of you who are attending this session today, having a team of more than 10 people, more than 5 people, or even 50 people, for you to connect to each one of them emotionally will play a big role. And learning is one of those, like Mohit just said about fitness. Fitness could be one learning, like early morning, you can have a half an hour Zoom call session, a huddle up with your team to learn from each other in terms of fitness, maybe, because somebody might be in your team who's more attuned to fitness. So let's move on and let's see what is the next part of our self-assessment or self-motivation, which is perseverance. Yes, the word resilience we have been hearing quite sometime for the last 3 months. Resilience is the only key for all of us. No matter what, we need to keep the focus on thought action balance is very important. We, in these times, mostly the challenge which comes is we are thinking something and we are acting something else. Focus on the closure. For all salespeople, I'm sure you know what is closure. And being in collection myself for almost 20 plus years and customer service, we know that each and every question, each and every dispute needs to be closed. So for example, people who are in banking and insurance industries who are working from home and managing their teams from home, there is an importance of closure here, consistent follow-up and not giving up, basically, because there could be customers who might be facing problems because of digital challenges. And recently there has been a cyclone. For all my friends who are attending right now from the eastern part of India, which is West Bengal, Orissa, they must have been facing a lot of digital challenges in terms of network. So I'm sure follow-up and calling up, a personal call instead of sending a WhatsApp makes a lot of difference when it comes to showing your perseverance towards your team. And of course, followed with perseverance is the sensitivity. Your behavior is most important when it comes to dealing with others. See, when we talk about work from home, we are actually working from home for another home. Okay. For all of us, when we spend 10 to 12 hours in office, that's like our first home. And why I say first home, because most of our waking hours we spend in office. And that's what we are exactly doing right now, working from home. So sensitivity is very important. Empathy, showing empathy to your employees, to your people is very, very important. There's somebody typing in the chat box, how to ensure bonding is without motive behind. Yes, of course, Tan, there is no motive behind. The thing is, you have to act as somebody who is relationship oriented. So if I ask you, maybe if I ask some of you, are you a taskmaster or are you a relationship oriented boss? So maybe 3 months before you had been a taskmaster, but now the time has come to change your approach. Like every game of cricket or like every game of football, every strategy changes. Every pitch, makes you change your style of batting. So here also you have to change your style of managing people. It is not so easy that you are always trying to read up something and then trying to say that I'm following that particular tool, but it is all about trial and error. There's a point here which says adapt behavior, pick up others' emotions. So this is probably the time to act like a head of the family and adapt to others' behaviors. I'm sure most of you have kids at home, maybe from age group of 8 to 15, you know how you have to bend down sometimes. You have to bend down to the demands, and sometimes you need to say yes even if you don't feel like. So to answer your question, Tan, that there's no motive behind, yes, you are actually showing empathy, saying, starting your conversation or behavior or your body language by saying, yes, I agree with you, but there are certain things which needs to be done. So I think that that is very, very honest way of looking at things. So moving on, the next thing I was talking about, a taskmaster. Uh, Here comes the authority. So this particular self-assessment process, self-motivation also comes with a little part of you're being comfortable in showing that, yes, you are calling the shots. There are resources which are at, that may not be available right now. And the most important resource is probably time. So how well you manage your time and how well you manage your people's time is what is important in this particular time. Are you comfortable overriding team decisions? Maybe yes, maybe no. But in these times, it is best to do a lot of brainstorming, spend a lot of time in asking questions, because sometimes we forget to ask questions. Okay, I'm sure all of you have heard about Albert Einstein. He used to say that if you don't know something, please ask. So no question is stupid. So as a boss or as an employee, for those of you who are attending this session, who is part of a big team, there is nothing wrong in asking to your leader or on a particular call. It may sound stupid, but in these changing times, you're only trying to learn new ways of managing a complex environment. So seeking resources from others for team performance, yes, you need to leverage a lot on others' abilities to ensure that you're working in a particular manner that itself helps the company or your own business. Okay. And last but not the least, of course, we need to drive the results. I have been reading about a poll which said that the productivity in the last 3 months for some sectors have actually gone up. Because people are finding it more comfortable to work from home, and they are explore their own ability to kind of remove a roadblock when it comes to a client expectation. So for example, if a person was not so comfortable from office, is more comfortable from home. But there are other side of the story also. Sometimes I also get to hear in my sessions that people say, as I was mentioning, that their work time has increased. So I ask them how your work time has increased, because your travel time is saved. You not have to go to office. You're only at home. But they say, no, we are more always into call, something or the other is happening. So somewhere in between, you need to drive a discipline, take some corrective and focus on the result. So as I started with my session by talking about the red letter word goal, so that goal has to be aligned all the time. For that, if you need to talk to your people and get emotionally bonded, maybe an early morning chit chat when you start the day, it could be a fitness session, it could be a meditation session, it could be just talking about the news, the positive news, of course, not too much of COVID news, but a positive news of how you're doing, how is your family doing. So ideally, we say that is the job of the HR, or maybe that job can be done by somebody else. But here, right now, as a manager, as a leader, you have to play the role of a coach, as well as an HR, as well as your own results as well. So I'll pause here for a bit, and we'll have a activity where you will be in your breakout rooms and discuss as a group what is that self motivation which drives you, what motivates you as a manager or leader. So over to you, Jessa.
Okay, so hello everyone. We will be entering the breakout room now, and we will not be seeing each other for a while. And some of our MBS team will join you there, so we encourage that you participate and interact. We will enter the breakout room now.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Please continue,
Okay.
Sean.
So can we move on? Okay, great.
Yeah, yeah, yes, please do. Yeah, we can
Thanks.
go.
Thanks. I hope you had a good session in the breakout rooms, and now we are all in this new Zoom platform. We have these breakout rooms. I mean, we can't create smoke rooms, for some of you who feel like smoking, but we have breakout rooms where we can brainstorm ideas. So coming back to, so I had a very nice chat with and we were discussing quite a few tools, which also Mohit has used as well as a manager. So coming back to one of these tools, this is one model which was developed by one gentleman who's a professor of psychology from the University of South California in 1999, Mr. Richard Clark. So he developed something called a Kane model of motivation, which attempted to integrate concepts from different theories. And of course, people's commitment to a goal, as I was mentioning, the goal is important, and the mental effort they put to achieve that goal is what this particular model talks about. So if you see on your screen, it is based on 3 important parameters for which there are some questions to be answered. So the first one is
Excuse me,
value.
Shome.
Yeah,
You
sorry.
need to share your screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm
It's
sorry.
okay.
As I said, there is a, okay. So is it visible now?
Yep.
Okay. So Kane model of motivation, as I was talking about, is one of these tools, and the full form is commitment and necessary effort. So it's pretty simple. It is nothing complicated. As I was mentioning, Richard Clark actually combined a lot of theories from different fields, and he himself from University of Southern California. He has studied a lot of students as well as pass outs, as well as future managers and existing managers in terms of understanding this model of motivation. So it is based on 3 pillars, basically value, emotions, and personal agency. So we'll go one by one. It is actually some of these questions which needs to be answered by each of us or as a team, that what is the value of achieving this goal. So maybe we can spend some time on that. Next comes the emotions. How do I feel about this goal? So if I want to ask some of you in terms of, like, there was one question from Tan which came that how do we ensure that how people know that there is no motive behind our motivating the teams? So that's where the emotion will play a big role, because you have to be emotionally connected. You have to understand the person, and the word is empathy. The word is not sympathy. We sometimes mix the both up. We have to put ourselves in each other's shoes, because everybody is working from home is a challenge. I was sharing that one with Mohit, and I was actually saying that if you can create a second home in your home, which is an office, inside your home, you have a room which is locked and you're working there, as if when you're coming out of that room, you're coming out of office. So you're switching yourself off emotionally from that particular place, because right now for the last 3 months you're locked down. You can't go to a particular place. You are not traveling somewhere. So that concept of office, your brain understands it differently. So in order to send that message to your brain saying that, yes, I'm coming out of office, and the same thing can happen with your team also. I know it is very difficult, because there will be calls after that. There will be, so that you obviously would have done anyway if everything was everything was normal. The last one is personal agency, which is in your personal capacity, what you can do. Am I able to achieve this goal? This comes last. The first 2, obviously, the value and emotions. So let's see some of the questions which Kane model asks and helps us asking ourselves. So these are some of the questions. So when it comes to self-efficiency, you ask yourself, can I do this? Do I have what it takes? So especially in these changing times, working from home, as I was keep repeating, is a challenge. So can I do this in this time is a question you have to ask yourself. in a personal agency, will I be permitted to do this and be supported? For example, you want to take, I was discussing this with Mohit during the breakout room, and I suggested that if it is possible, because in most of the work cultures in Southeast Asia and in fact in Japan, they allow their employees to go to take a power nap in the afternoon. In Japan, they have bunkers. They allow their employees to, because they start very early, and in the afternoon post lunch, they take a short nap, because that power nap gives them more efficiency results. And I myself have worked in Vietnam for a year. I know, I have seen myself that between 12 to 1, they have a lunch time, half an hour lunch and half an hour nap time. You can't disturb anyone at time, whether it's a CEO or whether it's, even even a telecaller. So that's the work culture. Maybe we can develop something like that in order to give a little bit of flexibility to people who are probably not so attentive on a call, because you might be having 5 to 10 calls per day at some level, and how the attention level fluctuates. So emotions, of course, how do I feel about this task or job? Importance of the task. Mood, yes, mood is very important in these times. We are human beings. We are a bundle of emotions all the time, and our mood keeps fluctuating. When you wake up, sometimes you wake up late because you're at home. Again, to take an example of our discussion when we are having with Mohit has actually created a routine for himself. He's saying, I wake up at a particular time. So it is very important that if you're working 5 days or 4 days a week, you need to ensure that you're waking up at the same time every day and finishing your work at the same time. At least try. I know it's difficult, but what Kane model suggests is it throws a lot of questions to you and tries to take the answer back from you. Because as coaches, as trainers, we are facilitators. If you ask me, what should I do? I may not have the answer, because your situation, nobody knows best other than you. And the last one is interest. Yes, do I like this? Because sometimes during work from home in the past 3 months, we may have lost interest in whatever routine task we were doing. Because sometimes, yeah, Methany is smiling, I can see. I don't know, maybe you can share later why you're smiling. But some of these routine tasks, you can put yourself in a different way of doing it, and maybe discussing with your superior or your peer members that how you can do it better. So anybody has any questions? I'm sure anybody has any questions, so we can take it in the FAQ. Right now you can type on the chat box. So shall we move on? Okay. So here again, once more, a time for a quick poll. And right now this poll is all about what is more important, skill or morale, which is attitude. So we spoke about mood, we spoke about emotions, so behavior, of course. So Methany.
Hi everyone, we're gonna have a small poll. You should see it pop up on your screen. If you don't see it pop up on your screen, do let us know in the chat.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
All right, thank you for participating. You should see the results on your screen. Back to you.
Okay. Thanks, Methany. So I don't know what this result would have been, this poll, if it was taken 3 months back. But right now, of course, there is an attitude or a morale which is more important in these trying times. And most of you answered, 86% answered, saying that morale is important. So let's quickly see how. So I'm going to stop share now, and I'm going to take you to the whiteboard where I will just try to draw a picture for all of you to see that if we divide this skill versus morale into 4 quadrants, all of you can see the screen. Mario, is it okay?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so if we say that the first screen is the first quadrant is high morale and low skill. Okay, so we'll come to each of these. Let me first just draw it for you so that all of us are on the same plane. The next one talks about low morale and low skill. So we have typically people always in our team. The third one is again a low morale but high skill. Mostly we'll have these kind of people during this COVID times in our teams, where people are highly skilled but their morale is down of due to some uncertainty or something. And then you have the ideal ones, which are self-motivated ones. As in the first poll, most of you answered that your team is self-motivated. Yes, these are areas where high morale and high skill. Okay, so these are the four combinations we can talk about in my next few slides, where I'm going to give you some tips or action plan how you can make these four different kinds of employees to work at their best. So coming back to my slide, okay, so what are the factors of demotivation for employees? Some of us as bosses, we know that micromanagement is one of them. Even when we are working from home, there are certain calls which are made, which may be avoided. So there is a micromanagement which kind of disturbs a person, or it might be so that they are not able to express it, but sometimes you will see a delayed call response. Lack of progress and productivity. As I said, that there was a poll which was seen that in the last 3 months, the productivity has taken a beating for some of the industries, but for some of the industries, it has grown, fivefold, because we know, we've heard the news that we're going to have the first trillionaire in our world, which is Jeff Bezos. I'm sure Amazon, their productivity has gone up. Of course, there is a job insecurity which is going in everybody's mind right now. They don't know what is going to happen after 3 months, again after lockdown. No confidence in leadership. Of course, this is a very common factor which also happens while you're in office. It has got nothing to do with COVID times, but this is the time when you can bonding with your teams, and this is the best time when all of them are at home. They're at their own pace and comfort level. It makes sense to have separate sessions where you can engage them through some kind of work, extracurricular activities like fitness, or maybe a meditation, maybe something to do with a talk. You can request Mario to take a talk on on these times for your employees. So poor communication, of course, is something which is communication gap, which results in a lot of demotivation. Boredom, yes. So why I'm showing all this is because we are coming to the skill versus morale matrix. So what is a skill versus morale matrix? So this is again something which is devised as a management tool to determine the best management approach for a given staff member. So as I drew the picture, there are 4 quadrants. So you know exactly in which quadrant you have to put your individual employees. So if you have a team of 10, maybe 2 in the first box, 3 in the second box, 4 in the last box. And the level of morale or desire to achieve incentives, because in these times, incentives play a big role. Reward and recognition plays a big role. Confidence in abilities. If you are able to delegate something which you were doing 3 months back, and now you identify somebody with a high skill, high morale, and you are actually creating a second line of defense, where you are creating a second line of manager and giving them that confidence that they can do it. So the questions to answer for this metrics are: how much can the person rely on his or her own skills to complete the task, and how much does that person really want to complete the task? So there is obviously a wish, which is the attitude, how much the person wants to do the task and how much he is capable of doing the task. So this is the skill versus morale. So let's see each of these quadrants. High morale, low skill. There are some step-by-step action plan which I have kind of put it together for all of you. So be clear regarding expected outcomes, goals, limitations of time, budget, etc. Because in today's time, you have a constraint of resources from all sides. If you are if you are the CEO of the company, you know there are limitations of budget. So you have to kind of work out a goal and maybe revisit that goal. You can create a weekly goal or a fortnightly goal and revisit that, discuss with your team, and be clear. The word here, the key word is be clear. Okay, check for understanding. Yes, with being clear, you have to check for understanding, ask those relevant questions, identify and provide required training and constant feedback. Yes, training has become very important in these times because it has always been important, but it was always taken as an activity which was done at the end of the year, depending on the budget or whatever. But right now, nothing is stopping you from holding a 1 hour, 2 hour Zoom session with your team. If you want to invite anyone, you can. Otherwise, you can do it with somebody who's from a different department in your organization, and try to get their feedback of how they are managing their teams in these difficult times. If it's a big organization, so accept early mistakes as important coaching moments. Yes, of course. So as managers, we sometimes don't like to become coaches. We have little patience because there is always a target-driven environment. But it is always good to accept mistakes and then move on. Give responsibility and authority. I was just mentioning that if you give responsibility to somebody who with high skill, with high morale and low skill, for example, a person who has the attitude but his skills are not developed, so give them that opportunity to learn. Even if they make mistakes, handhold them, and this is the best way to learn. Believe me, I have worked for 4 foreign banks, and this is how I have learned myself. There has never been a separate training session or a separate coaching session from any of my seniors. Has always been learn on the job. So learn on the job, even in this online times, is very important. Structured tasks to minimize possible risks to employees and company. Of course, the tasks have to be structured. So if you can create a to-do list or maybe a functional checklist during these times, that even making a routine like Mohit was sharing about his routine, you can create the same routine for your employees and see how they are responding to that routine. Give them that incentive that after 5, after 6, you are out of office, and then you will not receive many calls. Like so don't make it a 24/7 work from home. Make it a usual work from home. Okay. So high morale, low skill people are generally people who tend to listen to you most of the time because they are always wanting to learn something new. Okay. Let's see this category of low morale, low skill. Some action plan. Discuss what would motivate employees. So ask some simple, straightforward questions. That what can I do for you? What will motivate you? And then agree on what is possible. For example, I gave an example of a power nap in the afternoon. So if somebody wants a power nap for 1 hour, allow them. But come back again with a structured task list post that, saying that yes, goal is also important. So I'm only giving you that particular way of keeping you motivated or engaged. So set clear rules, methods, and deadlines. Of course, the word deadline for all of us is very important. We also have a deadline to finish this session. Check for understanding, provide required training feedback. Yes, so this is very common for all the matrices. You have to keep providing understanding, because understanding right now in these changing times, maybe you have a particular SOP which is drawn up for a particular set of employees which was 6 months back, that may not hold good now. So look forward to go ahead and change it. Give responsibility and authority for pieces of tasks. So in this case, the only difference between a high skill and a low skill is give small tasks and then kind of review them, giving them that confidence. Yes, they can also do it, So again, structured tasks for quick wins. So look for quick wins, so that for these employees to get motivated, if you give them a small task, maybe a half a day project, and then review with them at the other half of the day, and then result oriented, give them that quick win assurance that they have done well. And again, if there are mistakes, you can always correct it. I know it sounds very theoretical, but it is possible. Believe me, if you constantly do it, they say that you need to develop a habit, you need 21 days. So let's try it for at least 2 to 3 weeks to see how it works. frequent check-ins, verbal or written. So for low morale people, you need to frequently check in. So maybe here, the calls which you are doing frequently for all your employees, you might want to narrow it down to only to these people, and maybe a call off and on to check whether they are actually progressing, So let's move on. Yes, of course, praise and reward for success. Everybody loves praises. So I keep saying this in all my sessions, that please praise in public and reprimand in private. So all of you, I'm sure when you're doing Zoom calls, there is an option of private chat also. So if somebody is not on attending or in full attention, you can privately send a message to that person. So that option is also there. But please praise, please give the reward, and every reward doesn't have to be a monetary reward, because if you tell a person that he or she has improved, that itself makes that person happy. Now comes one of the most important quadrants, which is a person is highly skilled but is low morale, and most likely this person is going to leave you, maybe looking for other jobs. But there is an action plan which I have devised. Let's see. Discuss why task is important, why employee is best choice. So maybe if you have played a game of football or cricket, you know that there is always one key player who is not performing, but if you want that person to perform, he or she can be a game changer. So this is your game changer employee who is with a low morale and high skill. So give them that task which is important and make them feel good about it. It could be a task which has been given to you. Why not share it with one of your best employees who is low on morale right now, and try to do as a team. You be the playing captain. Don't be the non-playing captain. Okay. So discuss what motivate. Again, the same question is, tell me what motivates you. Maybe that person will say, okay, I need a 1 day off. I need to go and pick up some ration for my family. Okay, fine. Do that. So all I'm saying is, if you agree first and then put up your, your structured goal, that is more easy to convey. Be clear once again on your expected outcomes, your time, budget, resources. You might have less resources. You might want this person of high skill to do a job of 2 people, but you are not able to put that across to him. But this job of 2 people doesn't mean it's a huge job for this person. This person can easily do it. It's just because he's on a low morale. He needs to be motivated. Give responsibility, authority, because employee is competent. Yes, very important. If you know somebody is competent, yes, that person may not have an attitude, that person may not take your call at the first go, but pursue and kind of make him understand, yes, this is the right time for you to grow. Believe me, with every challenge, there comes an opportunity for growth. So for these people who are high skilled people but low morale, this is their best time to learn. Require frequent check-ins. Once again, just like the low skill, low morale, here also, for every low morale employee, you need to constantly do a check-in, verbal or written. I would recommend do it more of verbal to ensure the emotional connect rather than written, because sending a WhatsApp message or sending a mail is very easy, and sometimes we don't know what we have sent, because whatever we send, how we send it is very important. So people who are expert in communications can do that better, but some of us, we are sometimes very challenged in what we write. So I would prefer you call up and try to follow the listening part more. When you call up, try to understand, do the empathy part. Okay, again, praise and reward for success is common for all these quadrants. And here comes your best set of who you don't need to say much. Just be clear about your expected outcomes. Involve in decision making, very important. Just like the previous one, where the morale was low, here the morale is high. Again, you can create a team with people who are good in decision making. And believe me, decision making is also important. With the Kane model of motivation, the decision making becomes easier because you're asking those questions. Do I like this? Am I interested? So all these questions will clarify a lot of doubts when it comes to motivation. Frequently ask employees for opinions. Yes, just like we did some polls here, you can do some quick polls with your employees on a session. Check for understanding. Give responsibility and authority because employee is competent. and committed. Yes, the word committed is very important. Here you see high morale, that person is committed. So maybe sometime you feel that you're not probably giving the right task to the right person. So that is the time you need to stop, pause, and ask yourself, is this what I'm doing right? Ask for check-ins, key milestones when employee has questions. Yes, very important to answer questions, because in today's time, employees will have a lot of questions. So sometimes we don't encourage questions in a meeting. So ensure that you have a structured meeting format where you have a poll kind of a thing, or maybe at the end of the session, you have an FAQ session, or in between, if somebody has a question, encourage that. I'm sure you do that already, but try to do it regularly. Okay. Again, praise and reward for success is common. So I've almost come to the end. So just to summarize this whole session, and for all of you, there's some key points which we need to follow in these challenging times. First of all, find out what motivates the people who report to you. So we started this session with a poll whether your team is motivated. Most of you answered yes. So I'm sure that good work continues and you can increase that level. Get people working on what's important. So so for those of you who have read the 7 Habits of Stephen Covey, we use that book most of the time in our trainings. So what is important and what is urgent? These two are most important things when it comes to maybe 2 to 3 main things. If you can work it out as a to-do list for yourself as well as your employees on a daily basis. Explain and train, very important. It's very important to explain. Explaining and training are not same things. Explaining something which you are doing may be asked by your employees, because you may be doing it in a longer way. There is no harm in learning something from your own peers or employees or your team, and then train. Okay, so it could be a self-training, it could be a training for the team. Let people work as per skill versus moral metrics. I've explained that. So you might want to drop that quadrant for your number of employees and see how many fall under each quadrant, and then accordingly fine tune yourself in how to handle each one of them. Believe me, it's different strokes for different folks. It can't be same thing for everyone, especially in these times. Be generous with praise and recognition. I mean, you don't have to take money out of your pocket. All you have to do is you have to be generous in praising. So please recognize efforts of your employees. See, recognition in an office scenario and recognition during work from home differs, especially in countries where you have other challenges. So care about people and show empathy. The word is empathy. I have been talking about it, and right now I've put it in this. So the word care and empathy goes hand in hand. You can start your conversation by asking about the employee, how he or she is doing, rather than straight away going into the particular task in hand. I know there is pressure. There will be clients who will be asking for results, but how you download that pressure is up to you. Okay, again, lead by example. So I'm sure this is something which is familiar to all of you, that if we are saying something, we might as well do it ourselves. And when it comes to skill versus morale, we need to see ourselves first, whether we are in which quadrant as managers. So that's it. And we have a final poll. So Methany, and we can take some of the questions as well.
All right, thank you for joining us. Please let us know what you thought about the session by answering the poll that pops up on your screen. All right, thank you for answering the poll.
Okay, I'll be happy to take some questions. You can unmute. Okay, I'll see the chat box. Okay, how do we ensure our bosses keeps us motivated, Mohit? Same as we do for our teams. Shailen, thanks for attending. Have to break for a call now. Okay, Mario. Yes, of course. Mario absolutely answered it correctly. So I think it goes for the boss as well. Keep in touch with your boss. Also 2-3 times, like you keep in touch with your team. So how to ensure bonding is without motive behind? So that was the earlier question. I think I've answered that. So believe me, something about bosses with my experience, Mohit. There is a rule for customers, 2 rules for customers. The rule 1 is customer is always right. And rule 2 is even if customer is wrong, see rule number 1. So that applies well. But you can always try and motivate your boss, then it will become self-motivation exercise. Yes, of course. So something which you have, if you have been able to get, take something from this session, maybe you want to apply first on yourself and then something a little bit on a person which you feel is important to you, and see if that works. But try every conversation with a listening mode. So I think that itself motivates anyone under the sun. So if you ask me, because motivation is a big subject, and you will see motivation is something which is most sought after. Yes. Mario, you want to add something to this on? Hello.
Sorry.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. So with
yes,
your experience,
as I said,
you want? Yeah.
there is a question from Mohit. So Shom, I'll let you answer this one.
Yeah.
About further resources, but in terms of motivating your boss, what I used to do when I was working for large organizations, essentially with some people, you just need to apply the same methodology that you would apply to your team. Just don't tell them that, okay? They won't like it, but essentially the approach is the same in a little bit of a subdued form. Then as you are doing it, because what you are doing for the team, it also impact you, and what you are doing, essentially managing upwards, will also have an impact on your motivation.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Mohit, how big is your team, and is your reporting line to one person, or you have multiple bosses? Okay, so Christine, you had a question. I hope I could answer that. Yeah. Okay. So you're lucky to have one boss. When I quit the bank, I had 5 bosses. It was like I was managing a region, and then I had to report to different verticals. So believe me, it was a challenge. So because the pyramid was reversed. So in this case, I'm sure that emotional bonding has to be, as Mario mentioned, that emotional bonding with your boss is also very important in order to motivate your team as well as yourself, because this session was attended by quite a few I know who are managing big teams as well. So that becomes one of the most important factors.
Just having a structured approach, something that I would like to add, just having a structured approach, even if there is no emotional bonding, because I worked with a person where the emotional bonding wasn't 0. Actually, it was probably -5.
Yeah, yeah.
But nevertheless, having an approach of communication, regular, and so on and so on, and again,
yeah,
pushing the agenda that you're responsible for, with him still helped.
Actually, last 3 months has changed a lot of things. In fact, you know, if you see prior to that and if you see now, you know, because every country has a different culture in terms of how you respond to work from home. And
emotional bonding is great, but sometimes
yeah.
it's simply non-existent.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Usually
that's why
it is to some extent, but sometimes, as I said, this one was
right.
really difficult.
Right.
No problem, Mohit. Okay, it looks like we're wrapping up. So, Tony, over to you.
Okay.
Before Tony takes over, just want to mention that you will all receive the video, a link to the video and the slides also as well. Over to you, Tony.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sean, for sharing your thoughts in this great topic. Thank you to all of you for making time to join us today. Hope you enjoyed. See you on Thursday when we'll be talking about data analytics in HR. In this session, we will study how data analytics can increase the productivity and effectiveness of human capital management, function and review use cases of using data analytics in employee relation and performance management. Don't forget to share with your colleagues and friends. See you next week. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks all. Thanks Mario. Thanks Methany. Thanks Antonia. Thanks Ivan. Thanks Jessa. Thanks for the support. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. It was a pleasure having you here. So we'll look forward to more sessions like this one.
Thanks, Mario. Thanks. Thank you very much.